Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this week's video, we are going to take a look at some more creative ways and some more basic ways that you can use send and returns within your session to kind of give you either more options when it comes to mixing, or if you want some more sound design choices, this will give you, maybe this will open your mind a little bit and kind of give you some more options. So we're going to look at 5 today and let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to look at is just the send and returns that I have within my template. And these are ones that when I open up a session, a brand new session, these are the ones that are just presented to me all the time. They're really good to have in there because they can help me work a little bit faster. So you can see we have room reverb, medium reverb, large, and a massive reverb, some delays, have a chorus, and then I have a phaser. And each one of these, I've just got a little EQ on there as well, kind of help clean it up a little bit. So if I've got a reverb, after the reverb I have the little EQ, just taking out some of the lows. And again, that's just to help with mixing. I might change that when it comes time to mix, but like when it comes time down the road to mix the full project. But when I'm starting out, it's good just to kind of cut those lows out, kind of clean up as a little bit as I'm working along, and it kind of helps everything as I go. So the first creative one that we're going to look at today is something that is very, very basic, but it's helped me a lot with vocals and producing vocals and having vocals within my track. So this is just a vocal that I found within a sample pack. And if I just play the vocal, won't you hear my call? You can hear it's really dry. There's no movement on there and it is straight down the middle. So if we won't you hear my bring up the stereo. Won't you hear my call? There's a little bit of stereo image on there, but there's not too much. So one thing that I like to use a lot of when it comes to vocals is just sending it to a chorus. And this can help thicken up the vocal without too much sort of processing or anything like that. And you can dial it in with the send and return. So here's our vocal channel. And then if I bring up, this is the send and return. I've got it set to full at the moment. And on the actual channel, we just have this reverb, this chorus. So I've tried it with and without the distortion, kind of give two different options, but this one I've just chosen warm pad, got it set all the way to wet because I only want to hear that chorus effect and then to dial it in. So if we bring that all the way down, unmute it. And again, I've got this set to full and I have no other effects on the vocal. So won't you hear my call? Won't you hear my call? Won't you hear my call? If I just solo out the chorus, you can hear that's very, a lot of chorus effect on that. Won't you hear my call? Won't you hear my call? Won't you That's the dry. My call? Won't you hear my call? It's probably a little bit more than I would use. I would kind of probably back it down a little bit, but it's a good way if you're just sort of, you've got maybe you had a singer in, you didn't have enough time to do multiple takes to kind of thicken up the vocal. You just have the one single line, send it to a chorus, away you go. Another thing you can do, and I've got it on here as well, is just, I've got a little distortion. So if we bring these all down, kind of set it back to 0 again. And if we just listen to the affected vocal, take the chorus off. Won't you hear my call? Won't you hear my call? So now it's starting to peak a little bit. Won't you hear my call? We can kind of just get the highs in there. Now when we put the chorus on. Won't you hear my call? Won't you hear my call? Back that distortion down just a little bit. Pull this down. Won't you hear my call?
Don't you hear my call?
Kind of give it a little bit of a different flavor. Again, this is a pretty basic thing. You can also add a reverb on to the actual channel, but I just wanted to show you a way that you can thicken up a vocal pretty quickly by using a send and return with a chorus on there. So the second one we're going to look at is parallel compression. Some people might call it New York compression. This is a way you can add a little bit more sort of punch to your drums and give it that sort of nice solid attack. I have these drums here. Get an idea, nothing too crazy going on with the drums. Nice sort of chuggy beat to go along with the rest of the music. Now if I open it up, and you can see I've already got the two sends. And the one that we're going to want to look to is number 25. So that's this one here. We've got that sending to full on all the channels. If we just select one of them, and then we've got this channel here. Now if I just solo this out, this is just the drums, but if I play it with the rest, it's just doubling up the sound. And that gives the impression that it sounds better because it sounds louder, but it's not necessarily the thing that we want. We want that super compressed sound, and then we just want to blend that in to get the desired effect. So what we're going to do is just solo out our compression channel, and then we'll come across, and then we're going to add a compressor. Now, each compressor plugin will give you a slightly different feel, and you can see Logic gives you a ton of different options in here as well. Same as Ableton, and same as there's so many compression plugins out there. So I definitely suggest that you kind of play around and see which one works for you. For this one, we're going to use, let's start off with this, and then if we need to dial it in a little bit more with something else, we can give that a go as well. So we've got our drums coming in. We want that threshold to be pulled down quite a bit. So let's start off, we'll go around -35. You can see we're getting a lot of compression here. Want that ratio up nice and high. So everything that goes over the limit is going to be divided by 8 because we've got it set to 8 to 3.1. 8.3 to 1, sorry. Makeup, we'll keep it around, we'll go 10. And I got to make sure that auto gain's turned off. Now we're going to sort of dial in the attack and the release to kind of get the desired effect. So we want it pretty slow on the release, and then the attack, we just want to let in some of that punch. So we can look at the graph to see how it's reacting. Let's try some of the other compressor types. You can hear that one already is a lot punchier. You can hear that one is a lot faster, and that's kind of what we're after. Decrease that threshold just a bit, so we're kind of hovering around that 20. And you can hear, if I take it off, we're getting a lot more full sound, and then when I bring it back on, we're kind of just getting the bite of each of the attack. Okay, so now we have our original signal and we have our compressed signal. What we can do is we can pull this down to 0. We'll unsolo it. We'll play the whole track, and then we can start to increase this volume here, volume slider, until we get that desired effect. I'm really listening for that kick drum. I find that that's the easiest for me to kind of hear the big changes. If we just solo this. You can hear the energy that you get on that kick drum. So this is a way, pretty sort of basic way that you can add a little bit more energy and a little bit more attack to your drums. Obviously, you don't have to stop at a compressor. You can look at other effects, and that's what we're going to look at next by adding a distortion onto our drum track. So the third thing we're going to look at today, as I mentioned in the last section, is distortion on the drums. So again, let's send all of that over. Now I find that with sending the distortion, you have to kind of mix it all by individual element. You can't just do what we did with the compression, send it all together. With the distortion, it's a little bit different, and you kind of got to play each element and kind of mix it individually, because if you send the kick in at full volume, you could just blow the whole thing out and it's kind of done. So let's this, we're going to send to distortion, and let's take these two off, and we can solo the distortion, bring it up to 0. Now for these, I'm going to use the, where are we, Sound Toys Decapitator. And then to kind of give it that flavor that we would usually get if we send drums through like an MS-20 or something like that, to keep it all in the box and keep it nice and easy, let's go to Korg, MS-20, and we're going to just pretty much just pull this down a little bit. We've got the peak at halfway, and that will kind of give us a little bit more flavor as well. So with our distortion, let's start it at 5 and just pull down the tone a little bit. So this is going to be a case of me just going along and mixing each of the elements in. Let's bring that up a little bit more. And we've got the side stick. I'm just kind of doing it pretty rough, pretty quick, but just to kind of get an idea. A little shaker, another side effect, slide effect, and then some more perk, and then we got the tom. Let's pull down the drive and just go punish on. There we go. Pull down the kicks a little bit. And we'll just have a look at the Korg. So now we kind of got roughly this kind of desired sound that we're after. Pull this down to 0. We can unmute that. We'll go along. We'll select all of our drums again. Solo them out. I just took off the New York compression for this one. Pull this down a little bit. That's without it. And that's with it. Obviously, I would spend a lot more time mixing it into there. And I don't tend to do this in the box. I tend to send it out and then through either the analog heat or the actual MS-20, or you could even send it through the TTSH, the ARP clone, to kind of get that real world sort of sound and to take samples out, get some noise on them and whatnot. But this is a really good option to kind of give you a different flavor to the drums and kind of dirty them up a bit, like you would hear with Paranoid London or that old 90s sort of house and techno sound. So yeah, that's our third one of how we can use a center return with a distortion to kind of give it that extra flavor and kind of dirty up the drums. I found that it works really well on drums. If you start to add it on synths, vocals, and other bits and pieces, it can get too much too fast. So just keep that in mind when you're using that send and return effect. So the fourth one that we're going to look at today is using a gated effect as the send and return. So for this, we're going to use this voice sample that we have. And all I have on there is a compression and some reverb, but I have this send and return. So let's go full amount on the send and return. And this is the sound that we have on our send and return. And we're gonna add our distortion to kind of give the sound a different sort of feel to it. So let's take out some of those lows. Change the tone so it's a little bit brighter. Next, we can just add an EQ. Just take out some of those lows. Not doing something super technical or anything like that. Next, obviously, we're going to want to add our gate. And we're going to use the... Where are we? Here we go. Transgate. You've probably seen this in a bunch of videos before for other people. I found this one is really easy to use and gives you a lot of control over it. So there's our gated sound. And then lastly, we're going to use a delay so we can kind of get different sort of left and right spread of the sound. So this one, we're going to use a stereo delay. And we're just going to leave it as it is. We got straight and we got one set to quarter note, one to eighth note. So gives us that sort of, it's not a ping pong, but we're getting the different delay rates in the left and right. And now we can pull this down. If we play the music, we can and I'm just messing with the amount that we're sending to that channel and just pulling it back again. This is a good way to add a little bit more sort of character and a little bit more to the actual sound instead of just having this, which sounds good, but we can add a little bit more interest by you can also have this down a little bit. just so it doesn't add too much volume to that actual sound. And that's it for that one. And let's go on to the fifth and final. So the fifth and final one we're going to look at today is very, very much inspired by Bonobo's tape notes video. And he talks about these send and return effects that he uses. And this was very much the catalyst for this video because I was like, oh, I have a few of those as well that I like to use. So for this one, we have our lead effect, a lead sound, and it's just like a little string sort of plucking sound. We can then go, we're going to send it to the multi-effect one, and you can see we got nothing on there at the moment. So if we go that all the way to full, oh, probably need to unmute that. Now it's just got louder. So one thing we also want to do is we're going to send it to another bus with no output. We're going to use that as a cheeky little way to compress using a sidechain using its own signal. So we'll go to bus and we'll go to 17. And I set this up before. It's just going to 17. We're going to go the full amount and we've set it to no output. So now when we play it, it's going to that channel, but it's not actually outputting anywhere because it stops at the end of that channel strip. So we can come across and we're going to select the 27. Now the first thing we want to do is put our favorite little one on there, and that's the distortion. So let's put, obviously this is going to be relatively loud because we're sending the full amount, but ooh, let's just solo. Let's bring that down and just there we have our little distortion there. We could even just pull down the output a little bit. Next, we're going to add a reverb. For this one, we're going to use the Valhalla Vintage Verb. And we're just going to choose a random preset. We'll go rooms, large wood room. That sounds good. If I play the two together, so the effect send is sort of overpowering everything at the moment, but that's totally okay for now. Next up, we're going to use a little Sound Toys, and we're going to use the Alter Boy. Now you can use any like pitch shifting plugin for this as long as it has a pitch informant. So what we can do it gives you some options where you can choose the pitch. So then as we pitch it up, we're effectively creating like a little chord. But I sort of got my best results with this was just moving the formant. And let's pull this down a little bit. And then let's also get that Valhalla, and we're going to increase that decay. Maybe dial back that a little bit. pull this back a little bit. It's like a little bit of finesse. And then lastly, what we're going to do is, actually let's pull this down to, go to 9. And then we're going to add a compressor in there. Now we're going to use that compression source that we set up earlier. We've got sidechain, and we're going to use the bus, and it's this one, 17. We're going to set this to off and this to off as well. So what that's doing is it's compressing the affected signal. So then we're getting the nice clean original signal in, and then the tail that the affected signal gives us is going to come through as the compressor releases to give us that affected. So we're not going to get a double on the original sound. We're just getting the affected sort of thing. If I've explained that correctly or not. Not so much if I've explained it correctly, if I've explained it in a way that people can understand. We'll get there. So I've also got a reverb set up that I can just turn on now. So let's go to the Valhalla. Let's turn this up a little bit. Gives us that sort of really sort of weird back end on it. So if I play this along with the music now. So there you go, there's some quick and easy ways that you can use send and return effects to kind of get something more of a technical mind when it comes to New York compression, or something a little bit more musical when it comes to distortion, choruses, or in this case, a multi-effects send and return. So hopefully you've got something out of that. Hopefully at the end of the day, this has inspired you to create something. And until next time, see you later.